All right, so what I wanted to share with you today was actually something I was preparing for my training meeting tonight, but it's on overcoming objections. And that's one thing in network marketing, but it's a totally different thing that you all face in all of your businesses. And so one of the things to get yourself into overcoming objections mode is not to be the objection battler, but to be the listener and the helpful responder. So Kelly had mentioned that one of the times, or sometimes when she goes into somebody's home, they are telling her like what they're willing to pay, and she's like, hello, I cannot do what you need me to do in the amount of time that you think it's going to take if I'm going to do my job well. And so all of us have those things in our businesses where you think through the things that are constantly your sticking points. And as you do that, you are able to be on the front end proactive in addressing that before you're battling them. So for example, Jen, if you find that there's just one thing that you constantly are sticking with people on, to be able to go back and say, how can I address that from the get-go so that when we get to this point, it's not a sticking point anymore. Something that we see a lot in our business would be something like, oh, I don't have time to get together with you, I'm too busy. And so to be able to take a step back and say, hey, I know that you're really busy, but I feel like this is something that can bring value to the short amount of time that you do have available. Because if you have a, fill in the blank, then you don't ever have to worry about that thing again. So being able to look at if there's something that you just never have a trouble with, don't go back and figure out why. Just keep doing what you're doing, because naturally you are overcoming the objections in the process and you don't even realize it. But if you are meeting with someone on personal training and there's something that they just keep getting frustrated with, or you're thinking, why don't they understand this? Why do they keep saying no? Or why do they only do this many appointments? To be able to go back and from the front end say, this is kind of how it works when you work with me, or if I'm going to do writing for you, this is how it's going to work. And then from the very get-go, they're in the process with you, then you have something that can continue forward, and you might find a new sticking point. And so your job is to go backwards, figure out what you want the end result to be, and then you can tackle it from the front end before you get into that nitpicky conversation where, well, what about this? And you're like, well, I can fix it because of that. Well, what about this? And then you feel like you're in this ridiculous tug of war game that nobody gets anywhere. So let go of the rope, let go of the tug of war, and win the battle before they even pick up the rope.